are fit for the health of it. And where we're trying to create and lay down information that's going to be of use to you in your 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 journey to better health, where you actually live longer, better, naturally. Our guest today is Anita Calandra, is the founder of Natural Wellness by Anita and a passionate advocate for whole person health. She holds a bachelor's degree in holistic nutrition and a master's degree in integrative health sciences and a diploma in holistic practice. Anita's work combines functional nutrition, holistic coaching, and lifestyle transformation to help individuals uncover the root cause of health concerns rather than simply managing symptoms. Her approach recognizes the deep connections between gut health, inflammation, hormones, nutrient status, stress, sleep, movement, and daily habits. Anita empowers people to create lasting changes that fit their unique lifestyle. Her mission is to help individuals build resilience, restore balance, and achieve optimal well-being through a holistic and practical approach to health. So, Anita, why don't you tell us how you do that?
I try to do it very simply. I try to relate to all of my clients. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of noise in our world now about health and about food and about toxins. And I try to simplify it for my clients. I try to speak to them in a way that they'll understand. I'm an educator more than anything. I'm not trying to give them strict rules. I don't ask them to count macros or calories or anything like that. I want to educate them so they understand what is healthier versus something else. Like if they're hung up on Doritos, because as we know, many of these products they're addictive, and they can't eat just one, they eat the whole bag, they want to go back for more. So I educate them on what's in it, what it's doing, how it's damaging them, and then if there's a healthier alternative, because even though Doritos or nachos or whatever you want to call it are not healthy to begin with in any, really, but there are healthier alternatives. There are ones that are made with better products. And so I'm trying to help them find that and learn in a way that they can go when they're done with me and live their life healthier, you know, because there's a lot out there to figure out.
Yeah, and most of it isn't based on truth.
Exactly.
Um, I smiled when you said Doritos because I talked with a man who works with autistic children, and
Mm.
he would take them into his house, and he would do what you would call wonders with them. But the thing he had to do first was wean them off of eating a bag of Doritos in front of the TV set.
Yep. I can believe that.
And when you have your immune system functioning, you're not going to want the Doritos. You're going to say, really, this isn't really good for me. And I will
Yep.
tell you, I know I probably said this before. Um, Way back in the annals of educational research, somewhere back there, those journals go all the way back to the 1920s. And I just know that I read this in my studies. Um, there was a group of middle school kids. So I guess, they were 8 or 9 and up to 13 or 14. And they went to a 4-week summer camp. And when they started school, when they started the camp, they would go through the cafeteria line and they could take whatever they wanted. And they all took dessert
Hmm.
because life is short, so you eat dessert first. By the end of the 4 weeks, they were choosing a healthy, balanced diet. And back when this was done, we didn't have to worry about the chemicals that were in the food.
Mhm.
And that, that's the body's need to be healthy.
Yes. I think our signals are messed up now.
I think you're right. So how would you think we'd retrain them?
That's where I do it slowly and educate them because their mindset needs to be ready to make changes. And a lot of them will have aha moments as the time goes on because when they get themselves off the bad product, off the Doritos, off the Lay's chips, like, very specific to the brands, unfortunately, but off of these other bad products, they don't crave them as much. And then when they eat them again, it doesn't taste the same. It doesn't hit the same way.
Um, Boy, it sure doesn't. And I would open up these little packets of flavored drinks and pour in a bottle, and I'd give it to my wife who doesn't eat that, and she's, this is terrible. I can't eat drink this.
Yep.
So a couple of weeks ago, I found one laying around, and I opened it up and put it in water, and I went, "Ooh, this is terrible. It's too sweet. I can't eat it."
Yeah, exactly. Your body, your taste buds start to change too to the healthier, and you crave more of the healthier stuff. Like I make bone broth every week and I crave it every week. I'm like so excited when it's done.
What else do you put in the bone broth? Or do you
I
just
just
over?
I keep it very simple. I make it in a crock pot so I don't have to worry about it. I let it cook for 48 hours. I just usually I'll have some organic vegetables like celery or carrots, onion, garlic, and then sometimes I get creative if there's ginger around, I'll throw that in or jalapenos. Sometimes a little bit of a kitchen sink I'll throw in there to flavor it. It just depends, but I usually do it like an organic chicken. Like we'll have the chicken for dinner one night, and then I do the bones, the next day in the crock pot and let it simmer for 2 days.
What is your concoction of bone broth do?
Well,
Because
it helps.
everybody has different ways they do it. That's the
Well,
point.
it helps. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, for me, I mean, I love it. I know it's nourishing my body. It's giving me protein that I need, and it's also helping to heal the gut. It's good for the gut biome and the gut lining and everything. So it does a lot of good things. It's pulling out those vitamins, minerals, amino acids, all those kind of things out of the bones.
And those are hard to get um, from everyday food. In fact, from everyday food, it's almost impossible to get.
Hmm.
And even if you do the vitamins and the minerals, you have to know who's you're using.
Yeah.
How
Oh,
did they make it? And there is a movement. We 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 think we think this is where the government is headed, and this is a good thing that RFK has done.
hmm.
That they're beginning to look at alternative treatments. Unfortunately, he went a little bit overboard when he said there are no good vaccines. Because I'm old enough to remember being in the gym twice, once getting the shot, and then a little bit later when we got the liquid.
Hmm.
And our parents, we didn't know why, but our parents were terrified of polio. As I grew up, I found out why. So when you build up, you need these vitamins, you need the minerals, you need the uh, you need to have all of these things to make the biome work. Let's talk about what happens to food. The biome starts at your nose.
Hmm.
And if you don't believe me, go out and smell some fried chicken.
Yeah, make your mouth water.
Right. And the mouth watering is important. In fact, I have a lady who is scheduled to come on the podcast, I think the last one in July, and she's going to talk about oral health
Mm.
and what's called organic dentistry. So when you know when you chew or you put something in your mouth, it waters. And what does the water do? The water in the saliva, it starts to break the food down. So then the more you chew it, and here's the thing. We were made, God made us to chew our food
Hmm.
and not swallow it whole. I'm guilty.
So many people do not chew their food enough. That is a conversation I have with almost every client about chewing their food. You know, that they're swallowing it too fast. They're swallowing whole pieces that the body can't digest it the same way it's going to digest something that's been chewed thoroughly.
And what does that do for people? What is that? What effect does that have when it gets down into the body?
Well, if it's not thoroughly chewed, they're not getting the absorption of the right things from it.
Right.
They're not pulling out the vitamins, the minerals, whatever they need from that. It's just basically getting touched and not, fully used. When they chew thoroughly and it's all grinded down and it's more of like a mush, then that's when they're pulling out their vitamins, their minerals, their body's able to do what it's supposed to do with it.
So one of the things that I did, well, my wife did, was we set a timer. So I take a bite and I would chew it for 45 seconds
Hmm.
before I could take another bite. And that helps. I wonder, do you ever stop to think why so many people don't chew their food? They
Oh
just
yeah.
swallow it.
They're on the run, they're in a hurry, they're in the car, they're on the phone, they're watching TV, they're not thinking about it. When you sit down with family at a meal, there's conversation during the eating. So the fork goes down so you can finish what you're saying. It puts a whole different spin on what's happening because food not only do we biologically need what we get out of our food? We have so much attachment to food, with emotions and things.
That's where I was going. I have to go back to my roots as a shrink. People are doing a lot of work now with mindset and uncovering trauma,
Hmm.
and in many households, the trauma came at the dinner table. Whether you
Makes it
were
stressful.
no, I'm no, I'm actually talking about the dynamics that went on with in families.
Hmm.
And in most cases, there'd be somebody we called the identified patient, and that would be the person everybody would dump on. And I find that there are people out there. It takes a while to work through that.
Hmm.
It can be done, but a lot of people drink and eat on an unconscious level. As
Yes.
you said, they're thinking about other things and not eating. So one of the things that you can do is sit down and eat and do the little. So when the food gets into the small gut, this is where things start. The stomach is just getting it ready, making it ready um, for you to digest it.
Yes.
And then it gets in And here's the thing most people don't realize. What you eat in the morning, your first meal, really sets the tone in your body for how it's going to be digesting food all day.
It sets the tone for if you're going to be hungry right away, if you're going to be sustained long enough. I'm a big pusher of protein with their meals. Like, I don't believe in starting your breakfast with cereal. I believe it should be, eggs, even some bacon. You should have
Me,
some
me,
good
me, me too. I
bacon.
know the purists say don't eat bacon, and I like bacon. I like the way it tastes, and especially if you cook it till it's crisp.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Uncured bacon though, let's be clear. Uncured bacon.
um, yes, beef, chicken, and pork. Those are all good sources of protein. I start off every morning after having gotten into all of this. I eat two hard-boiled eggs every morning before I eat anything else.
Okay. That's good protein. That's a good source of a lot of protein and
And
different
it's all
assortment.
and it's all the amino acids you need.
Yeah.
Everything's there um, for you to be healthy.
Yes, because I a lot of times will go for a walk or work out in the morning, I got into the habit of putting a very clean, like one ingredient protein powder into my coffee. And not, it doesn't have to be a full scoop and just a little bit, because for a woman, if she's going to go work out, walk, whatever it may be, any kind of minor effort, on the body, our body, our womb thinks we're in starvation mode if we haven't had anything yet. So that little bit of protein counteracts the idea of the body wanting to store fat. And it's like, oh no, she's got some protein in her. She's all good to go. We can go on this mile walk. And doesn't, and that's putting in very simplistic terms.
Yes, because your brain remembers, your brain controls all of this.
Hmm.
And you have these messages going on mostly from your stomach to your brain, but there's feedback back because your gut is looking at the food that's coming through. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is sugar
Mm.
because sugar is a really big no-no.
Yeah, sugar's bad. Sugar gets a bad rap and it deserves it. You know, and we have so much sugar in our diet as a Western diet as Americans. You know, I I do believe a lot of the research that's saying, the dementias and the Alzheimer's and all that, they're finding sugar in the brain. Like it's type 3 diabetes, they're calling it.
That's right. Diabetes, and
Mhm,
that's what it is. And it comes from um, the reaction. And here's the thing. Everything that goes on in your body is biology. It's science.
mhm,
It isn't that that you're a terrible person or you fall off the wagon or whatever it is. It's science. It's biology.
mhm.
And there are, like, if I remember correctly, 22 grams of sugar in a Coke.
Something like that. There's a lot.
So if you drink that Coke, a couple of things are going to happen once it gets to in your mouth, because your mouth is going to know it's sugar.
Mhm,
When it gets down into your stomach and into your gut, the first thing that happens is um, we produce insulin.
mhm,
Then you got other little cells in your blood, because that's where the insulin comes in your blood, that says, "My God, we are being attacked." Now, when the body's attacked, there are two ways that the body can defend itself.
mhm,
The body can send water, or the body can send fire.
mhm.
Doesn't have any other way to defend itself. Those are the only two. Well, you're not going to have water fix the sugar. So it's going to send fire. If the body gets overwhelmed with the sugar, then it sends the message for the fire to come in and they can't put the fire out.
No, and we create a very bad uh what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very bad cycle of more insulin, more insulin, more insulin because the body
and
can't
and
keep up
and
anymore.
and, and more fire.
Hmm.
So when you go into the doctor's office, this is stuff they don't talk about. They don't test for it. They would rather you get sick. That's a terrible thing to say, but they would rather you get sick.
Right.
So if you know what's going on, and with the development of continuous glucose monitors, so
Hmm.
if you're a diabetic, you have one of those. What they're finding out is that your body responds to sugar, whether you're a diabetic or not. It has a spike in insulin.
Hmm.
Now, with diabetics, that spike is higher than a non-diabetic.
Isn't it because they're releasing too more insulin than a normal non-diabetic?
Right. But even if they're a non-diabetic, they're going to have an insulin spike.
Hmm.
And if they've got the genes for diabetes, that means they've got the weaknesses,
They're turning it on.
right? And what'll happen is it'll spike, and you're really meant to be somewhere between 80 and 120.
Hmm.
Diabetics who have their A1C down around 5.5 or 6, they're between 120 and 180.
Hmm.
But when it gets above 180, you start doing cellular damage. But you don't know that.
No, no, it's secret. It's not a secret. It's hidden. It's not obvious.
But what happens is one day you walk into your doctor's office and he says, "Oh, you've got stage 3 kidney disease. Where did that come from?"
Yeah.
And in this way, these spikes are worse than high blood pressure
Yeah.
because at
Yeah.
least you can see it, and we can do that now with a continuous glucose monitor. But most people aren't going to go out and spend $300 to get one of those.
No,
And
no,
if you're
they're
not a
not.
diabetic, your insurance won't pay for it.
Well, for my clients, I actually give them a glucose monitor, not a 24-hour, just the old school, prick your finger, because I want to see what's going on when they wake in the morning and after they eat their first meal and stuff. And I have them monitor for, I mean, minimal a week. If they want to go longer, they can, but I just want to see a little bit of a picture of what, because just because their doctor says they're not diabetic or that nothing's wrong doesn't mean that there's not something that could be going on that they don't realize yet.
Right. And when you have these spikes, your body has something that's called organ inferiority. That's way back in the psychoanalytic literature. It means a weakness.
Hmm.
So if your weakness happens to be your kidneys, that's where the fire is
It's
going to
gonna,
go.
yeah.
Go to your heart. It can go to your lungs. It can go to your skin. And
Hmm.
boy, are we seeing that now, which comes from the heavy metals that kids are if there's a vaginal delivery, they end up with, I don't know, 260 PFAS chemicals that are there forever. And so you get little babies now that have eczema. But not only that, everything the baby touches is plastic.
Yes.
Even
Yeah.
their diapers are plastic.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
I'm I tell people don't drink out of plastic bottles. Don't drink water.
Mhm. I've done
But
as
they're going
much
to
as I can.
say, yeah, they're going to say, but it's convenience. And that's what happens has happened in our world.
Everybody wants it easy, fast.
And now
Yep.
I don't want
They
to
don't want.
wait. I want it right now.
Yep.
And as long as we have as long as we have that mindset, and this would be good for mindset coaches to work on. We're going to delay your gratification. We cannot have it immediately, and that takes work.
Yes.
It really because everything in our life is instantaneous. You want
It is.
entertainment? Turn on the TV. You want a snack? Open up a bag of chips.
You don't even have to watch commercials anymore or get up and change the channel. I remember as a kid, you had to get up and move that little dial on the cable box and everything, to change change it. And you had to sit through the commercials and you had to wait till next week to see the new show. And it's not like that anymore.
Didn't you have a little sibling that they were the channel turner?
And I was the channel turner because I was the only
Oh,
child.
you That's the youngest child becomes the remote, right? And the other thing is going out in fresh air and sunlight.
Hmm. We have villainized the sun.
Unfortunately,
Yes, and we need the sun. Our body, our circadian rhythm goes with the sun, the moon. We're on that rhythm. We need the sun for vitamin D. We need the sun for our immune system. It's been villainized and it's so bad.
when you stop to think about it, everything that we need is here on Earth,
Hmm.
but we have to find it, and sometimes we have to find it and purify it.
Yes.
So, what do you tell your people as a functional nutritionist if they would do breakfast and dinner? Do you have times that they eat and order that they eat it in?
No, I try to accommodate what they're used to and slowly change their habits. Um, the it all depends on their journey. Like I've had people that are halfway there and they just need to learn more. So sometimes they're the harder one than the person who's at the very beginning and doesn't know anything.
Right.
Because they think they know and what they know is not right. So there's a lot of re-education that goes on. And I don't want them to eat breakfast until they're hungry because I want them to make sure that they're fasting a minimal of 12 hours from the last meal to the first meal. I want a full digestion to happen. Um, and it, they also underestimate bowel movements and things like that. So it's all depend, I become like a detective almost because I have them keep a food journal, but not so I can see what they're eating, so they can start to make connections to the food that they're eating. So they can start to say, when I eat this, I feel bloated, or when I eat this the next day, I always get a headache or whatever it may be. But they start to make connections and I start to weed through what they're telling me. And then we start to, find their path of what is going to be right for them. Because keto diet may be great for you and horrible for the next person. We all, our biology is what's the word I'm looking
My
for?
57 trillion cells are different than your 57
Yeah,
trillion cells, right?
yeah.
And they
So
and the 13 trillion in our brain, mine react differently than yours. That's what they call
exactly.
your perceptual filter. Right.
So I'm trying to build it out to their requirements, to their needs of their body, to what's going to make it easier for them too. I will not come in and tell my client, you can never have cake again. I'm sorry, it's your birthday, can't have cake. Not happening. I will never do that. That's unrealistic.
It
You
is.
know, they have to be able to still have their birthday cake or their daughter's birthday cake or their son's birthday cake, whatever it may be. It's educating them on the moderation. It's educating them on what the difference is from every day to once in a while. You know, I try to keep it very simple and very easy to understand so that they get the change that they're looking for. I equip them with I saw somebody posted about the apps that you can use to scan. I equip them with the Bobby Approved app or the Yuka app so they can go scan their food, scan their products, and believe me, they are shocked when they come back. Like when they're like, I my last client was like, Bobby does not like me. I'm like, no, Bobby just doesn't like the food you're trying to eat, you know. So I try to do real world, real easy for them to understand.
Well, it's interesting that you say you want to do the 12 hours. I think that's a matter of how you set your life up.
Well, yeah, I
And,
don't want
and
them eating late at night, number one. Like
right.
if their normal bedtime, say, is 10 o'clock, I want them to stop eating around 6 o'clock, and not past that. So sometimes I got to get through the hurdle of, okay, what are you eating at 9? You're telling me you're hungry. Why are you hungry? What did you eat for dinner? Why didn't it fill you up? Why do is this a habit? Is this a craving? Or are you truly hungry? It's like weeding through. I get into the weeds of it, trying to figure out what's going on for them.
There's a psychological component to that also.
Mhm.
I learned that when I was in graduate school. If I sit down in front of the TV, I'm immediately hungry and start to eat.
Mm. Yeah, because it's a
But if,
habit too.
well, it's where I grew up. But if I'm working in my study, I don't get hungry. Nobody bothers me. And people have to learn to make that connection.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where the journal comes in for them a lot of times too. Because then they start to make the connections of like, all right, I had this for dinner. I wasn't satisfied, obviously, because 2 hours later I was hungry. But why, when I had breakfast, was I not hungry for 4 hours? So they start to make the connections of the different types of food that they're eating, the higher carb diet versus the higher protein, or things like that.
They might also be hungry for another reason. And that's what goes on in your brain.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, in your mind.
Yeah.
It's between the brain and the mind. And it becomes a learned response. And if you stop to say, why are you eating? You're not even hungry. Oh, okay. I need to gain my awareness so that I can understand the messages that my gut is sending to my brain.
Hmm.
Because your gut's saying you're not hungry. And my brain saying, yes, I am.
Exactly.
And that's why we don't focus enough on the psychological part of ourselves.
Mhm.
And that's the part that causes most, if not all, of the problems.
It could be our worst enemy.
Right. Um, so what's your typical breakfast that you have people eat?
Usually it's an eggs. Includes eggs with some type of meat. I work with a lot of women, and most women are not eating enough protein. So I'm usually trying to build out the protein for them that they get a little bit more. And I'm not telling them, like, if they want to count it, they can. Like if they want to, measure it and count it, that's fine. But I don't require that, because that, again, that's not sustainable. You are not going to live the rest of your life measuring your food and measuring your counting your proteins. So it's more of creating the habit of that they know, when I eat this much, it works for me. Because a lot of times what happens for my clients is they're under eating. They're, not just protein, just in general in calories. They've been in a calorie deficit for so long, their body's in starvation mode and they don't realize it. And so there's and that's a mind thing too. There's so, like the mentality of counting calories is so ingrained in us, even though the calories are not equal. A Twinkie is not the same thing as eating an egg, you know.
I know.
So,
The other thing is this: the people that I treat, the diabetics that I treat, usually have a neurotoxic problem. And we
mhm,
find that, both Dr. Grant and I find that with the AO scan. And we can find the minerals or whatever else, the viruses, the uh, bacteria. But when you look at people, they're eating a lot because a lot of these people are obese.
yes.
Well, the chemicals do that, but the chemicals also do one other thing, and that is they're starving you to death
Mhm.
because your food is just passing right on through.
We can't even digest half the chemicals that are in our food. It doesn't know what to do with it.
All it knows what to do with it.
We just
Your
put too
body,
much
your
in.
body knows what to do with it, and you're going to be amazed. It gives it back to the it gives the food. If your gut isn't open and your detox pathways aren't working, it's going to recirculate.
Mhm.
And eventually it's going to get back into the liver, and the liver is going to do what? It's going to store it as fat. And now we have a problem called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Liver. Yes.
If you're talking about an emotion, let me make that connection, then we'll go back to fatty liver. Anger is something that is attached to the liver. It's in Chinese medicine.
Hmm.
And so there's that emotional part of the component that leads to the problems that people have. What I found with people, I would say to them, you're starving yourself to death. You're always hungry. You're as big as a house and you're always hungry. So the physicians say, well, we'll just do a stomach bypass. I don't even think they're doing those anymore
I don't know. I hope
be,
not, but
because it would really get people. I was treating some of those people 5 or 6 years ago. It's a bad deal.
hmm.
Um, so what we try to do, people, like you say, is to eat the protein. There's another thing that people should do, especially if they're a little on the heavy side, and that is eat a salad every night.
The
Because
roughage.
that's going to slow the absorption. If you deal with a diabetic, what we're trying to do is we're trying to slow down the absorption of the food
Hmm.
into the body. And that can be how you control your the blood sugar spikes. We should do that for everybody. And I think we'd have less chronic illness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that need to change for less chronic illness, but yeah, definitely. In I don't know, it's the the toxins, the whatever you want to call it, the ingredients. They're the guilty party of damaging the gut, of our body storing it as fat, of the obese person who is, counting their calories and don't understand why they can't lose weight. You know,
Well, Dr. Grant, do you have anything you would like to add?
Perhaps the how we can detect and reverse diabetes, as you mentioned, Dr. Harvey and Anita, because this is the next biggest epidemic in the world that surpass heart attack, stroke, and cancer. So we need to really address the obesity in Texas, Louisiana, and Georgia, where you have the highest three states in the whole USA.
Yeah, and look, we cannot control what we breathe or what we drink or what we eat out in the world. But in our home, we can control our water, we can control our food, and you can buy air filters that will control the air. However, as soon as you open the door, the outside air is going to come in. It's very, very important to drink good water
Mhm.
because I guarantee you the water that comes out of your tap has all kinds of chemicals in it. Even though the water company is going to say, "Oh, we don't have that." Well, you know why they don't have it? Our testing doesn't show it. They don't have it because they don't test for it. If they don't test for it, you can't have it. But that is again how people end up with fourth stage small cell lung carcinoma, and they never smoked a day in their life. One of my friends got that. I was just shocked. But he helped he helped test the drug Keytruda, and now that has helped people live longer. The problem is the drugs they use to treat cancer are the ones that get in. They're pesticides and fertilizers. And the joke among toxic or cancer doctors, oncologists, is the key and the goal is to kill the cancer before we kill the patient.
Yeah.
Now,
Horrible.
I don't know if that's still the case because cancer treatments have come along. But when you put something in your body that God didn't make, it's going to cause a problem. It may fix a problem here, but it's going to cause another problem over here. And that's what
Well,
we see. That's why we get chronic illnesses.
yeah, because so much of this stuff didn't exist, 100 years ago, 70 years ago. It's so different. Like these autoimmune issues that are everywhere now. I never even knew what that was until, I mean, not recently, but when I was young, nobody had an autoimmune issue. I didn't hear about that when I was in my 20s. They're everywhere now. I mean, and then they get more than one. They have multiple autoimmune issues.
Well, I was looking for my little chart that shows what happened in the 60s. And here again, these immune problems don't start when you show up at the doctor's office.
No, they started way
They're
before.
10, 20, 30 years ago. And then you know it.
Yeah, no, and they, and I know we've discussed this before. It comes down to the gut again.
It does. It does. Um, but what happened was in I will put this up as soon as it comes up. Where did it go? I will tell you this. Back in the 60s, we got in the late 60s. Prior to the late 60s and in the 50s, we were eating at home.
Mhm.
Going out was a luxury. Um, Mom cooked. She cooked with lard, our spry, our Crisco. The food didn't have chemicals sprayed all over them. That started in the 60s. But what else started in the 60s was something called fast food, and I want it now.
Mhm.
In my generation, we had TV dinners.
I remember those.
And they tasted okay,
They were
but
a
we
treat
didn't
on
know they
Friday
were
night.
using chemicals to make them taste okay. We we ended up by the 70s wanting everything now, and because women went back to work, that was a big thing with with us baby boomers, that women wanted their career and they deserved it. The world is a better place for it. But they came home and they wanted something quick and easy. And it was really easy to drive through McDonald's or to drive through KFC and pick up a bucket of chicken or a sack of hamburgers without thinking that that food was our poison and our
Well,
body couldn't.
I also think that way back when they first started, that they were more pure. Not that they were healthy, but they were more pure than they are now. Because when you look at French fries now from a fast food restaurant, it has multiple ingredients. It's not just the potato, salt, and the oil that they're using.
Well, see, here's the other thing too. They're not allowed to use those chemicals in Europe.
I know.
McDonald's cannot use the same grease that they use. Let me see how this is going to look. I should have tested this. I have this little thing, and it really shows. In the 70s, fast food became ubiquitous. In the 80s, that's all we had was
Mhm.
fast food. By the 90s, we began to have an epidemic of diabetes. Now, nobody put those two together. Well, that's not true. There were people who put that together. Um, and then in the 2010s, we all of a sudden saw uh, dialysis centers in a little strip shopping center. Where did that come from? That came from the sugar spikes and the
Mhm.
insulin. Because here's the thing: the sugar spikes and diabetes and insulin will kill you. It just depends on how you want to die. And I
Yeah.
said that to my doctor. Um, I have to go twice a year because I'm a diabetic, even though my last A1C was 5.8. And we were talking. He knows not to ask me about statins. He didn't even ask me about that anymore. Um, and I said, well, the insulin's going to kill you. And his response was, well, if the insulin doesn't, the diabetes will.
Mhm.
And you can't argue with that.
No, not at all.
So we have to get to the point where we fix the internal environment, which is what goes in and comes out. Because
It
what
has to
comes
come out.
out, yeah, what comes out is just as important as what goes in.
Mhm.
Because we have this epidemic of stage uh,
A
colon
colon
rectal
cancer.
cancer.
Yeah. And
We don't,
young people.
young people, yes. Well, what I'd like to do is this. I'd like to open it up for those of you who have questions. Feel free to unmute, and we're happy to take questions if you have any. Nobody has any. Oh,
I
Peter.
have
Okay.
to, yeah, I have to chime in here. I'm thoroughly enjoying your exchange today. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. The last statement that came up for me, Dr. Harvey and Anita and everybody else, is life is a deadly sexually transmitted disease, and none of us will get out of it alive. And a friend of mine said that to me a few years ago, and it's such a true statement. It's amazing. I have a question for you, Anita. When you mentioned that you make broth
Mhm.
and you threw in vegetables and stuff, how concerned are you, knowing what you know, that the vegetables you're throwing in are all filled with chemicals? And
So,
do you have a method to clean your vegetables before throwing them in the broth?
I try to stick to organics. I try really hard to stick to organics, unless I've checked the Clean 15, and if it's something that I can't get organic, I'll check that because the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 is done every year. And then to wash them, I vinegar and water. We have no choice but to trust the labels. Unless I don't have a farm or a garden to grow it in right now. So, and I'm not even a fan of growing my own vegetables in my backyard because I live in a neighborhood and there's a lot of runoff and every neighbor sprays their lawn. So when I have one rosemary bush and it is in a raised pot because I'm not going to plant it in the ground. But yeah, I mean, I do the best I can. I try to trust the labels as much as I can. Um, I keep looking for the new label for meat and stuff for the regenerative farming, which is, supposed to be coming from a farm that they are doing all the regenerative practices, which should be cleaner and better for us too, and more nutrients because of that.
Well, as a person who even has a level of mistrust with labels, even when they say organic, recently I was exposed to a little product where it's like a bowl that cleans the vegetables. You put them in there with water, and it showed, the ad showed all of the dirt on the bottom when it was finished cleaning. And I had my wife look into it and buy it
Oh,
so that we can clean our vegetables before she throws it in the broth.
exactly.
And so,
And
yeah.
there's so many like you say, clean it with water. Well, do I use the water from the sink? Do I use the water from my filter? Like it's like there's so many.
And water on its own won't do it. You
Yeah,
need to have some kind of
Scrub.
I think it's an electromagnetic kind of system that really sucks all the bad
that's
stuff out
interesting.
of your fruit and vegetables. So I had to mention that.
Did you find that it actually did that? It was dirty water that came out?
I asked my wife, how is it working? Because it's Amazon and we're Prime. If it ain't working, she says it's going back.
Right.
But she says, yes, it does provide the dirty water on the bottom, which means that something's coming out of the fruit and vegetables. Look it up on Amazon, and there's a great deal on it. I don't know where she got it, but she got it on Amazon.
Interesting.
Renee, your question? Comment? You have to unmute. It's on the bottom. There you go.
I'm here. Hi. I just wanted to first say, for those of you who do not know Anita, I've known Anita for, gosh, almost a year now. And she has helped me. She has helped my family, especially when it comes to medical issues. I will first say that you do not realize the foods that we put in our body, of how our body reacts, especially when we have these, like you're saying, fast foods. At times, yes, we do it. Your body doesn't know what to do with the fat of the fast food, so it stores it. So I just want to say, for those of you that have any questions about nutrition or even some medical issues, you'd be extremely surprised to know how knowledgeable she is. And I will tell you, when you guys were talking about the TV and the food, and I was thinking about that, I remember as a child, and I'm talking about the 60s, my mother would put me in front of the TV with the TV stand and I'd eat. And the only reason why is that my parents were business owners. We did not have the times where we sat at the table, where you could sit and talk, because that's what dinner is all about at the end of the day, is that communication, and just not with the electronics that we have today with the kids. So that's what came to mind with me when you guys were talking about TV. And I think a lot to do with when we eat has a lot to do with stem of how we grew up, of what our parents gave us, what our parents did. Like mine was, to me, TV, eating, that's comfort. I'm in my comfort zone. I turn my phone. I don't even go on my phone. It's like, don't even bother me. I got my TV and I have my food. But I just want to thank Anita for all her information, that she's just extremely knowledgeable, especially if there's medical things going on and how food does affect her life, our lives. And that Yuka, is it called the Yuka app? Yuka app?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I found a sunscreen that's clean, but I did tell her my body was white when I came out of the water. I wasn't used to that and trying to get it off. But anyway, thank you, Anita. Thank you for all your information. I think you're
Thank
absolutely
you.
a fabulous person. Thank you.
Branya,
Thank-
did I pronounce your name right? Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for having this, Anita, and Dr. Harvey, all of you, the professionals, is that it is true. I grew up back in the 50s and the 60s, and the food that you eat today is nothing like what it was back then, as far as even what's in the nutrition of the I eat a salad. I eat a spinach salad every night. However, to have the same nutrition in that salad that I had years ago, I'm having to eat twice, 3 times, and 4 times as much spinach, and I can't do that. I just don't have that stomach space to eat that much at a time. But I put it in the chat. There is a very old custom that a lot of people don't do anymore, may not even understand, is that, and you're sitting there eating, whether you're in front of the TV, whether you're on the road, however you will eat, take your fork, take your bite, put it in your mouth, put your fork down on the plate. You chew that for 45 seconds and you swallow it before you ever pick up your fork again. Now, my grandmother was German, and so she taught us that. And I do that even now. If you want to take a drink out of your drinking cup, you make sure there's nothing in your mouth and you wipe or dab your mouth with your napkin, because it's giving your body time to digest things before you take that water. It's slowing yourself down in a fast-paced world that we are no longer in, that we're no longer in the slow mode. And I learned that a long time ago, and I still eat that way today. And I also put in the chat, I've lost 70 pounds and I'm almost 70 years old. And they say, you
Good
can't
for
lose
you.
over 60. And I'm like, you're not correct, because I've proved it. Thank you.
Right.
But
Wonderful.
And it's our policy. It's never too late to get back in the game.
No.
Yeah.
correct. And there is a term out there called the bionic boomers, and I'm going, I want to be a bionic boomer. I just don't know if I can run again, but we'll try. Just because I've got crazy knees, but I don't know if I can run.
You may not be able to run as far and as fast, but you can still run.
Yeah. And I live on 80 acres. I can walk anywhere I want to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's good for you. It is.
Yes. Go ahead, Dr. Harvey.
No, I can't do 2 things at one time anymore. I used to, not anymore. No, that really is good for you, but also varying the pace, because one of the things you have to do as you get older is you have to account for muscle loss. And muscle loss is only you have to do resistance to build muscle. Now, back when we were all kids, they had something called isometrics. You remember those?
Mhm.
That's all you need to
Didn't
do.
PE class?
Yeah, you go back and you do isometric exercises. And you will build it, and that's better than just walking. And the other thing is, with walking, you have to keep varying. Well, as I understand it from my physical therapy guys, there comes a point when you walk that you've got to walk really fast. And you've got to do that for 2 or 3 minutes. Because
Walking to
I'm sorry.
No, go, sorry.
Because that's what it's that kind of stress to your body that makes everything why your lungs, your heart, the whole thing is getting activated.
There is a new study with exercise 4x4, it's called, where you do 4 minutes of really hard, like don't stop, out of breath, and then like you take a minute break, and then you do I think it's a minute break, and then another 4 minutes, and it reversed heart aging in the study.
And also,
I
as you
would
get
be
older and travel, and you have to run through an airport. Did you know that?
I would caution people who are in their 60s to not do that without having some kind of scan. And I just wrote, I just published a newsletter about that. You know, you don't know because you don't know what's going on inside of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, we used to think, well, how can somebody go to the doctor and they walk outside and they have a massive heart attack and die? It's a mystery. It's not a mystery anymore. And when you put that kind of stress on your body better be able to handle it.
True.
That's
Yeah.
the thing.
You don't just jump into it. I agree.
No.
And walking, going back to just walking is so good for a diabetic, especially after a meal.
You bet. You want to make those gastroc muscles work.
Yeah.
You want to make them work.
And also, I noticed that if I do not bring my knees up, kind of like a march, bring your knees up, it's not helping. Like I'm trying to lose. I'm a German girl. I've got the hips. Give me a cow on the milk bucket. I know what to do. But it's getting those knees up and working your hips, because it's your hips. I've noticed it's my hips that are beginning to go, you're getting old, woman. So I'm like, okay, I am going to start marching.
It's the way God made us. He made us to move. And what's interesting when I work with chronically ill people, the one thing I have to do is I got to get them to move.
Mm-hmm.
Because your heart takes care of the upper part of your body, but the bottom part of your body are your legs, particularly your gastroc muscles. And that is where that's where disease starts. Disease doesn't start in your head, it starts in your feet. And it works its way up.
Wait, yeah.
And you have to and the thing that's going to keep you out of a senior center is going to be keeping your leg strength. Be able, and just if you can get up and walk and you can go to the bathroom, that's enough that you don't have to go to a nursing home. But if you can't go to the bathroom and you can't walk and you can't, and doing these things called activities of daily living, which is cleaning yourself, brushing your teeth, combing as long as you can do that, and you'll be okay. But when they come and do a screening, that's what they're looking for. You don't even have to walk in a straight line. Look at Trump. Renee?
Yeah. One of the things that I've learned from Anita working with her is understanding the oils that we use, seed oils, what's good, what's not good. And, she always say vegetable oil. I remember you saying this, Anita. Why is it called vegetable oil when there's no vegetable in it? So my question to you, Anita, is that we always cook with oil, right? And the pros and cons when we use Pam that we spray to using the right oils to cook with are like olive oil, extra olive oil, is it avocado oil? What is the best to cook with when you are cooking your foods and you have to, fry things and stuff?
So I think it depends on what you're cooking and how hot it's going to get. Coconut oil and avocado oil are both good at high heat. The difference being avocado will not flavor your food and the coconut oil will give it a coconut flavor. You'll taste a bit. Olive oil is better for drizzling or a little bit maybe saute. But you want a good olive oil. Olive oils are adulterated now. So when you have it by itself, if it doesn't cause like a little it's like very peppery, like when you swallow it, like I don't know how to explain it, but like maybe make you cough, just like you can feel the bite of it, then you know you got more of a pure olive oil than when it's smooth, then it's probably adulterated by some other kind of oil.
Or if you put it in your refrigerator at night and it separates.
Yeah, separates them. I do know too that there's always that controversy of our eggs, caged, free egg cage or something. What is it called? Free caged or whatever on that.
Tree, the grazing, there's so many different things. Again, when they say they're cage free, it could be 5 feet that they got. I mean, they may have a door that allows them to go outside and stand for a second, or they have to, it could be that they're allowed so many minutes outside. So that goes back to researching the companies, finding the company that you trust with the eggs.
Yeah.
And the same way with beef.
I was just going to say beef. Yes.
Same thing. If you get pasture a grass-fed beef, and you should buy that butter, grass-fed butter.
Yes, 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 yes. And I know you were telling me Aldi's is good for stuff like that. Like if we have an
Aldi has a decent price on organics, grass-fed beef. Because a lot of times for my clients, financial is a hard thing. Like the groceries are expensive. It's not cheap. And again, like we have no choice but to trust the labels and hope that they're being honest at this point, unless we're got a cow in our backyard,
Yeah.
Franya, your question, comment?
And I just wanted to say that where we live here in the middle of Missouri is that we have a Tyson's chicken plant here. We have got chicken houses all around us. Those chickens are taken at 6 weeks. Now, my husband grew up 2 miles from where we live because he grew up on a farm. You do not want a 6-week-old chicken as your dinner because they have done nothing but put organics, non-organic hormones into them because they want to get that profit, and it's all about the money. And we no longer eat chicken. We don't care who makes it around here because we know what they can do and what they do around here.
You don't think those big plump chicken breasts were on their own?
No. I always tell my clients too that what they're eating, you want to know where it came from because you're eating what it ate. So.
Absolutely.
Oh, I like that.
Yes. And I also heard that if you want a true, very good chicken, make sure that the chickens are eating the shells off their chicken eggs. When you break your chicken egg, feed the shells back to the chicken.
Back to them. And they should be eating bugs. Chickens eat bugs. That's what they're supposed to eat.
And they're only going to get those they're not going to get them in their little nest. They're going to get them walking out in the pasture.
Yeah, and if you've got a yard that can accommodate chickens and you're allowed to have them, and say you got dogs and cats, they are great for fleas and ticks because they will eat all the fleas and ticks in your yard.
Wow.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, I want to thank you for being here. Our next one is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today would be the 25th. 14, 25. And we will have another guest. And I want to thank you. You don't have anything else? We are planning I will tell you that my website is lost in space. Don't ask. But we were just beginning to put these talks onto the website. So they would be there for you to see them when you couldn't make the cast. But who knows maybe the guy that's helping Microsoft build data centers will be able to find it. Who knows? All right, folks. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.